What's up, guys? It's Rudy. So I want to talk about a customer I had earlier today. So yesterday he calls talking about how he bought something from the photo lab. He bought two posters, two 24 by 36 posters that I printed for him and sold to him. Like I printed them, rolled them up, put them in a wrapper myself, and gave them to him and sold it to him. Well, he calls back about a few hours later talking about how they came ripped and he wanted to know if he could return them and get it reprinted. And I told this man, it's like, look, I bagged these up myself and handed them to you, and they were not torn, like, at all. But I'm not gonna argue with the dude. Like, I just gave him what he wanted. I told him, just come in, bring the posters back. I'll reprint them for you right now, and we'll just exchange them. So I didn't want to argue with the guy, but I just give him my side of the story, right? So he said he won't be back until today, which this happened yesterday. So he comes back. He comes bebopping along. Walks up to the counter with his son, and his son looked like maybe 7 years old. And they showed me he didn't have the posters with them. Instead, he had a video of where they were torn, kind of torn along the edge. And from what I kind of gathered, I already knew what happened the minute I saw it. It's like this little kid got a hold of it, tried to take it out of the wrapper by putting his fingers in the wrapper and tried to pull it out like that, and he ended up tearing them because they look like little bitty tears that little fingers would do. But I didn't say anything. I just said, okay, do you have the posters to exchange them? And he didn't bring them. I was like, well, I told you to bring them yesterday. Can you bring them? Because that's the only way I'm going to exchange them. And to be fair, he took a video of it and showed me what happened. And to be fair, I could have just gave it to him and been like, whatever. But I didn't want this motherfucker to get away with this because it's fucking bullshit. Like, even, let's say, for instance, okay, scenario. Because these posters were for his son, you can tell it was for his son. You can tell that his wife made it and he had nothing to do with it. He was just picking them up. His wife made it, told the hubby to go get her posters for the kids or whatever. And he's just kind of going along with everything or whatever. The way it probably happened, it is about thoughts, right? Thoughts are lies, but what probably happened is that this little kid tried to get the posters out himself while his parents weren't around, ended up tearing them, put them back real quick after he realized he was tearing them, and parents found it, took him out of the wrapper and said, what are these tears doing here? What are these tears doing here? Oh, they came this way, and whatever. So I'm pretty sure that's what went down. But I don't know if he was actively lying to me. So, you know what I mean? So I have no proof of that, but this is just like let's say a microcosm of a kind of a bigger issue. Like all of that shit I didn't really give a fuck about, to be honest. But people like that are honestly, let's forget about, I'm not even talking about the marriage thing or the husband thing or the wife thing. I'm talking about people who are kind of just go along through life, and don't really think about things. And I'm pretty sure the mother and the father kind of got an idea of what happened, because if I could kind of gather that just by looking at the tears, I'm pretty sure they could gather that too. But instead of calling their son out and being like, hey, did you do this? Be honest with me. Or let's say he was honest. Let's say the little boy was honest with them. He said, oh, I tore him. It was an accident. It's like, oh, we'll just tell the cashier that it came that way or whatever. Either way, either scenario is absolutely fucked up. Because they should have called this little boy out just to get him to kind of fess up to it, right? Because if he did something, he needs to own up to it like a man. Teaching him to be a man, right? Own up to it. Say, look, I made a mistake. And I would have been cool with it. It'd be like, look, my son tore the posters on accident. Is there any way we can reprint them? And if they would have said, let's say for instance, they would have said, we'll just pay for the extra poster, and be like, oh, don't worry about it. Bring the old posters in, I'll just exchange them. Because that's the kind of person I am. But instead, they chose to do this, whatever the fuck that was, And it's like people like this, they suffer, right? They suffer and they don't realize they suffer. Their whole life is just filled with suffering because they just don't do what's correct, quote unquote. What they know, what's within them already. They know the difference between right and wrong. In either case, in either scenario that I just kind of played out for you, both instances are wicked. Because they either could have corrected their son, or they could have just fessed up to their fuck up. And you know, someone like my wife, I was kind of texting my wife what was going on because I thought the situation was fucking stupid. Like, really stupid. Like, I've never really had a situation like this before where something was just so fucking obvious. But I'll sit in her text and kind of tell her about it. And, you know, we're having a good laugh through texts. And she don't really understand why I do the things I do. It's like, why did you exchange them? You know, like, be like, well, you know what? It's not my business, for one thing. Like, literally where I work is not my business. And I've been told by my management that I have a lot of liberties when it comes to the photo lab. I can give stuff away if it's appropriate, right? I'm not just going to give shit away. But you get what I'm saying? Like, I have a lot of leeway in the photo lab when it comes to making customers happy. So I take a lot of liberties when it comes to the photo lab. You know, I can change prices, I can give them extra shit, and I do that all the time. Nothing crazy, right? But use my better judgment. I know what I can get away with without getting in trouble. Okay, I've been working at that place for like 14 years by this point. I know the ins and outs of what I can get away with. But someone like my wife wouldn't let them get away with it. It's like, look, it's not about getting away with it. It's about the knowledge that I have. And it's like people like this, they kind of just bebop their way through life, you know, just humming along, never considering the bigger picture, never considering the lessons that they're giving their son. This is all about getting away with something in their minds. Like conversing with the devil, so to speak. And this is a generational curse. Like, they learned it from their parents. Like, this little boy is learning a very valuable lesson about how to get away with bullshit. So when he becomes an adult, he's going to go through the same thing. He's going to marry a woman just like his mother and suffer because of this fucking fat fuck of a dad who can't do the right thing because he's a little cuck. And yeah, it does burn me up a little bit because I saw that little boy and I was like, oh, here we go. Guys, you have no idea. Like, I wish y'all could spend a minute or two in my brain, because the moment I saw this kid, I already knew what this whole situation was about. Like, this little fucker, not the kid, but this dude, this fucking asshole, is just completely ass-whooped by his wife. And I could just tell just by looking at him. I can just look at this guy and tell that he's ass-whooped, man. That's how deep it is. That's the knowledge I have, man. And you can have that knowledge too. If you just, I'm just gonna say, if you just go forgive your parents, man, because that was the biggest thing. But that's besides the point. It's like, and I explained to my wife, it's like, look, it's whatever, because I know in my heart that these people, this group, this tribe, this little family that they got going on is just suffering like you wouldn't imagine. Like, it's just generation after generation after generation of this familial curse, this family curse that they keep playing out over and over and over again. And nobody gives a fuck, right? They just want to get away with their bullshit. They want to get their free posters. They want to get free stuff. It's all about making money. It's all about having a nice car, yada, yada, yada. They never think about the bigger things, right? And then they go to church on Sundays and they're all holy. They get on their knees and pray. And they're like, oh, God has blessed me with this and this and this and this. And it's like, no, motherfucker. You're so stupid. These people are so stupid. And it's like, a lot of y'all may be thinking, Rudy, why are you projecting your stupid shit so much? It's like, man, look, like I said, I wish you could just spend a day in my mind seeing the things that I see. And, oh my God, it's just like, just dealing with people is just so amazing. Like, that was an amazing experience. I loved that experience. It was just so good. Like, man, give me more. Like, yeah, the next customer, let's see this little fucking cuck. I can tell he's a cuck. Look at him. His wife's probably fucking cheating on him. I'm just kidding. But a lot of people, like, a lot of dudes out there, man, are just so weak. They can't lead their families, like, at all. They're just incapable. And I'm not saying I'm this fucking spiritual leader, this great spiritual leader, because I have my flaws too. I have my issues. I have my vices. It's like I'm slowly but surely overcoming my vices. And I dropped a lot of shit. Like, the moment I forgave my mother and my father, especially my mother, it was like I dropped a lot of things so quickly that it was kind of scary. Like, I've told this story before, but the art thing, like I studied art for like 6-7 years, just nothing but drawing, like literally drawing, like an hour a day, 2 hours a day, at minimum an hour a day. Like, I had to calculate it in my brain. It's like if I draw an hour a day, that's 365 hours a year of practice. We used to call it mileage. 365 hours of mileage a year. It's like you're gonna get better. You're gonna get better. After 10 years, you're gonna get better. It's like, yeah, that is true. But when I don't know, man. When I forgave my mom, that just slowly started going away because I started realizing I was doing it for the thrill. I was doing it so I could brag about it. I was doing it so I can say, "Oh, I'm this cool sketch artist, and I'm just so good with a pen, guys, and I got such a light touch and all that." Because I used to draw. I sketch with pen. Okay, I still do it every now and then, not as much as I used to. Like maybe once a month, I'll grab a pen and start doing little sketches and doodles and whatnot. And and to my to my defense, I was getting very good at art, at sketching. I love sketching, guys. Like, oh look, they're working on the poles over here. Our internet's out. My wife is talking about how the internet was out all night. Like texting my wife and my daughter were both texting me because we're like in a group chat that we kind of post memes and stuff in the group chat, telling me how the internet was out. And I see the AT&T guys all over the place near my home. Anyway. So back on topic, the drawing thing, I just dropped it after a while. Like, I want to say maybe like, God, when was it? I forgave my mother December of 2019. Yeah, because the big CV thing was the next year. I think by April, I think it was April or May, I ended up leaving all of my art chats. And not because I was like, oh, I'm awake now. It wasn't anything like that. It's like I just started losing interest. I started like coming to these realizations that it was all for ego satisfaction. And like these dudes, like cool guys, man, you have no idea. Like the artists I hung out with are just like the funniest people I've ever been around. Like just so entertaining, just cool guys. And there's nothing personal against them. It's just I was just having a really hard time identifying with people around that time. Because I forgave my mother, and it's like I was a whole different person. Like I'm telling you, like I was an entirely different person. Like it's so weird seeing the world like this, and it's like nightmare goggles, dude. It's like the nightmare goggles, the Roddy Piper, they live glasses are just permanent. They're just stuck on my face, and I can't take them off. Anyway, guys, I think that's all I have to say. Interesting customer. Also had a run-in with another dude. I think he was a homeless guy who, real quick, I'll tell the story. He came in pretending he worked for the bank and was like, "Hey, I'm here to pick up your money for the bank. I work for the bank." And he wouldn't say which bank. And I was like, "Look, man, we don't do that here." I didn't tell him the people that pick up our money, but it's Loomis. It's a company called Loomis that picks up our money. They come in a uniform. They have a gun and all that, but. I was like, "Look, you need to get out. Like, you need to leave or I'm going to call the cops." And he was like, "Well, I'm going to have to tell my boss that you're not giving me the money, so blah, blah, blah." I was like, "Okay, go tell your boss you need to leave now. Bye." And I just waved my hand. It's like, "You need to leave. Goodbye." And that's when he started mumbling to himself and he walked out. And anyway, he came back in. Hold on a second. There we go. So he comes back in like a minute later, holding a Dollar General bag, and I didn't even talk to him. I just walked away, went to the office, called the police, and supposedly walked across the street. I don't know what happened to him after that. Anyway, that was a funny story. That dude had something wrong with his mind. Like he was just out of it. But the funny part is, what got me thinking about it is that fucking everybody's like that, man. Like this homeless guy, just like I've talked about it before, where these people with like mental illnesses, they just kind of say the crazy thoughts on the outside, while the Christians or whoever, they think they're all like above it. They talk about the people on drugs, like Billy likes to say, "Oh, you must be on drugs, you must be on weed, that's why your life is horrible." And it's like these people, these Christians, like they don't realize the absolute fucking horror show that they're going through. And this Christianity thing has a lot to do with it, because they get baptized and they go through all these rituals and they think they're saved, right? These stupid fucking demonic preachers have people convinced that they're saved, but they're not saved because all these demons are tearing at their flesh, tearing at their minds. Like all of these thoughts, these crazy thoughts, and these personalities, and these masks, and the clown makeup, these are all demons like tearing at your mind that you have to overcome. That you have to overcome if you want to be free. You can't be free with all of these thoughts polluting your mind. And that's what these dumb fucking Christians don't understand, because they'll be quick to judge this homeless man, but they don't see it within themselves. And when I see that dude mumbling to himself, it's like, yeah, like I get it, man. Like me too. Like I get it. I'm mumbling to myself too. Only I do it in my head. And that goes for every person on this planet. And I don't want to hear no bullshit about how you're not going through that. Alright. What's up, guys? Had an interesting, this is going to be an addendum to my last recording, I guess. Oops. Alright. Just in my mirrors here, hold on. Last night I did a recording and I talked about parents who kind of avoid having their children take responsibility. And I realized today there's kind of an upper limit to that. So I had to watch the front counter for like 3 hours because somebody called in, which is fine. I don't really give a fuck. It's always interesting to interact with these customers anyway. So I actually kind of look forward to it now. I used to hate it. Like I used to really hate it. Because usually I'm used to being the manager in charge, so I can kind of walk everywhere and do whatever I want. So being stuck up front kind of blows. It does blow sometimes, but every now and then I'll get a gem or two of a customer interaction where I'm like, oh man, I can't wait to talk about this. So this lady comes in with her 2 kids, and they look to be maybe like 4 and maybe like 2. And the smallest one being the girl and the oldest one being the boy. So she's kind of dragging them along, right? I've talked about this before where the kids don't really want to be there. So evidently, to kind of preface this, evidently the little boy, the 4-year-old, he might have been 5, but he was old enough to talk. So, no, actually I got this wrong. The little girl was older. She looked like to be 6, and he looked to be around maybe 4 or 5. So it was an older girl. So evidently he knocked over a gift card and stand that was in the middle of the aisle, an accident. And the lady was like apologizing for him, and she when she got to the front counter, she told me about it. I was like, oh, okay, I'll deal with it. I'll deal with it when I can. And she told me that he was back there picking them all up. So I was like, oh, okay, that's fine. But basically saying I'll deal with the wobbly in-stand when I can. Thanks for telling me. So about a minute goes by. I didn't really give it much thought, and then I realized I looked up in the mirror, because we got a big old mirror in the back of the store where we can see customers. I was like, oh my god, that's like a little boy, like a small little boy. I was like, so finally I just walked up to him. I said, look, I was being as gentle as I could because the boy looked really upset over this, and she was like making him pick everything up and stuff and not helping him to teach him a lesson, right? And this is my point, where it's like there's an upper limit to, like, you lead by example, right? Like she should have been, like all 3 of them should have been picking it up together, and you can still kind of teach them this lesson of if you make a mess you have to clean it up kind of thing, especially when you're out in public and somebody else's business or property. I get what she was trying to do. Like, I really truly get what she's trying to do, but I think she took it too far because he was actually really upset about it. Like, he thought he was in trouble. Like, I had to come up and kind of smile at him. It's like, hey man, don't worry about it. Hey, I say, hey man, don't worry about it. Try to be casual, right? It's like, I'll pick the rest up. Y'all can go. It's not a big deal. Like, basically kind of saying that, trying to get him to calm down a little bit. I noticed he had an earring in his left ear. I don't know why. That's fucking weird to me. It was just one ear. So I'm trying to like calm him down a little bit. And the woman's like, oh, are you sure? Are you sure? We're really sorry. I was like, no, it's okay. As pissed off as I was at her, I still kind of maintained my composure. So I was like trying to be gentle with him, right? It's like, hey, little man, it's okay. Don't worry about it. It's like, I know it was an accident. You're not in trouble. Like, trying to reassure him that he wasn't in trouble, because like he was like crying. I was like, I felt really bad for him. And I didn't know it was a little boy, or I would have just straight up told him, I would have just told the woman, like, hey, don't worry about it, just leave it there, I'll take care of it. I thought it was like her teenage son or 13, 14-year-old son. That's what I thought when she told me, because who in the fuck, to me, it's like, who would do that to their son or anybody? I was like, what in the goddamn? And it's like, so they start leaving, I have to go back up front, so I'm kind of following them to the front, kind of reassuring the boys, like, hey man, look, it's not a big deal, well, I'll pick it up later, okay? Like, you're not in trouble, just calm down, relax. And I noticed he had an earring, so I said, hey, I like your earring. And it's funny because the little girl thought I was talking to her at first. So she was being polite. She's like, oh, thank you. But it turns out she wasn't wearing earrings. So we kind of had a laugh about that. So they'd leave, all right? But to me, that was, and like I said, I don't think it's completely fucked up the way I would normally kind of do when it comes to mothers and their children, because I don't think she really gave it much thought in that way. She, in her mind, right, she's going along with the narrative that you teach your children to do the right thing, right? But I think she took it a tiny bit too far when he started getting upset, because from what I could tell, he thought he was in trouble with some authority, right? Like me, for instance. I'm a big guy. I'm overweight, but I can be intimidating to like a little kid. So I had to really be gentle with him when talking to him. I'm just like hyper aware of how I look and how I come off. So I smiled a lot, best I can do, kind of cracked a joke. Hey, I like your earring, kind of to get him to chill out just a tiny bit. So that's one incident, and I already gave my opinion on that. Had another incident. It wasn't really an incident. It's more like something funny that kind of make me break character a little bit when it comes to this clown makeup I have to put on. So it was a woman, kind of an uptight lady, kind of an uptight woman, with her 2 kids. I guess they were her kids. I couldn't really tell. I was kind of getting a vibe of an aunt or something like that. Like maybe it was her nephew and her niece, and it was again, older girl, slightly younger boy, and the girl looked like to be maybe 12. The boy looked like he was maybe like 7 or 8. So I'm watching them kind of horse around, and the little girl was making me laugh because she was just saying funny things to him. They're kind of messing around and joking around and playing while the lady was getting checked out. And she said something funny, which I thought was really funny. I'm not even sure why. I guess kind of reminded me of my daughter and the way she makes jokes. The little girl said, I don't know if she said mom. She may have said the woman's first name. But she said, hey, you know how, I'm just going to call him Jimmy. Hey, you know how little Jimmy is always eating Jelly Bellies? And to anybody out there who don't know what Jelly Bellies are, they're jelly beans. He's always eating Jelly Bellies to the point where I think he is a jelly belly, kind of saying like things like that and laughing about it. And they're both laughing about it. And finally, they're doing this thing where the little boy was hanging on to her like a monkey, and putting his arms around her neck, and they're kind of horsing around that way. And the lady was like, "I need to calm down. Stop it." She kept apologizing to me. I was like, "No, it's okay. I'm finding them very entertaining," which I did. It was the funniest shit to me. So the little girl, they're doing that, and I don't know what it was when he jumped on her back, and she was just kind of toting him around like he was a backpack. I just started laughing. I just completely broke character. I'm playing a role at the front counter. I'm the NPC, right? So I kind of just keep to that. I kind of just keep to that character when I'm at work, okay? But they just made me lose it. I just couldn't help it. I just burst out laughing and started laughing, and it was just the funniest shit to me. And of course, this lady's just uptight as ever, man. I don't know what it is about these women who drag their children around or drag children around the store, and they're just like stick up their ass. They could how can I put it? Like you could put a piece of charcoal up their ass and they'll make a diamond. That's just how bad it is. But just kind of funny little interactions I had today with my customers, and it's like, man, I gotta find entertainment somewhere, but it's everywhere. If you really just keep your eyes open, guys, like you'll find this kind of mythology playing out, like the Adam and Eve mythology I talk about all the time, and Cain and Abel, and another good one is Jacob and Esau, like the quarreling brothers, right? Jacob and Esau, and their parents and their crazy parents, because they got some crazy parents, man. Jacob and Esau. I forgot their names, but I'll do a little research because I want to talk about that because it's actually super interesting. It's really twisted. to get the short version real quick, Jacob and Esau being like the older guy, well, the older brother, they're twins, but Esau is technically older, so he basically is set to inherit his father's land, his father's livestock, and all that, etc., etc. So the mother conspires with the youngest son in order to get the inheritance to him, which is really fucked up. Like that especially that mythos is playing out right now. You'll see the mothers who turn their children away from the fathers and turn their children against the fathers, and that little story perfectly exemplifies what I mean. So the too long didn't read version is that Jacob and his mother conspire basically to trick the father, the blind father. This is going to be my point of the video when I do make it, is that the blind father, the father has become so old and blind, and he was literally blind in the story, but this is more along the lines of spiritual blindness. These weak men that I talk about, who let their wives kind of trample all over them and control the children and turn the children away from the father and whatnot. It's like the old blind father gets kind of seduced and tricked into giving up inheritance to the younger son, which is kind of goes, I know back then, tradition, going against tradition was a very big deal. Like they had nothing else but tradition, so they didn't have tablets or Netflix or anything like that to distract them. So all they had for entertainment was their little fucking traditions, right? So it was a really big deal. But I'll get into that sometime. Just a stupid story, stupid little incidents that I deal with on a daily basis, and I could, man. A lot of these stories go in and out of my head. That's why I felt like I had to talk about it right now. But anyway, like I said, an addendum to last night's voice recording. I think that's it, guys. Y'all have a nice day.